not sure if this is something that will be helpful, but I figured I would try something. This is going to be a very non-tutorial tutorial. So what I thought might be helpful for some people is kind of stretching a traditional nail polish manicure on natural nails. This manicure I did about 4 days ago, and then I did some work on my car, and now I've got some chipping and some wear. It's also grown out quite a bit. So you can see here I have quite a lot of growth in my nail. My nails grow very fast, and I'm lucky for that, but also it makes manicures not last quite as long. You can see here this stuff that's coming out is like the top coat that went down under my cuticle despite my efforts to clean up after myself. So that's another problem, is that you end up with this lifted top coat in your cuticle that doesn't look great. So if you want to fix, oops. So if you want to kind of stretch a manicure without having to do the nail art all over again because you really liked the way it looked and you don't want to have to do it all over, or you just don't have the time, this is just kind of how I go about stretching a nail art mani. So I already did step one before I even thought that maybe I should film this, which is I will go in and clean up by filing the ends to kind of get rid of the initial tip wear and also just kind of reshape. I don't know about everybody else, but I have found that over the course of the growth, the nice shape that I had at the end of my nail tends to round out and just not look quite as nice as it did when I first shaped it. So that's the first step that I do. The next step is that I want to kind of take care of these, this ledge right here. I tend to use a lot of layers of polish, especially with nail art, and I also tend to use a thicker top coat. Usually I use the Essie gel setter top coat. I don't know which way is going to be up in this video, so we'll just try both ways. And I also use the Holo Taco Super Glossy Taco, which is also a thicker top coat. So to do that and to prepare for what I'm going to do to make this nail look nicer, I will go in with a fine, which is a high grit buffer. This is very close up, so I apologize. But it's just one of those buffer blocks. I use just about the finest side of it. I am going to buff down the top coat, which is going to feel a little bit scary if you only use one coat of top coat, or if you use a thinner top coat, kind of like the Essie Speed Setter or any kind of quick dry top coat, or the Seche Vite. You'll want to minimize how much you buff over the actual polished part of the nail because you don't want to go into the image. I just know how much top coat I have available to buff without ruining the image itself. So I will do that now and be back.
A few moments later.
So here is your next lesson, which is don't get distracted scrolling things while you're buffing, because you will in fact take away the image, because I wasn't paying attention, but that's okay. There's still some image left, so we'll just pretend that that didn't happen and I did exactly what I said I was going to do. So at that point, I will take a fluffy brush and get rid of all of the dust. Also, a tip when you're using the buffing block, if you're going to be going anywhere near your cuticle with it, you want to go easy on those cuticles, so have the edge that has the foam and use that edge against your cuticle, not the corners that have a grit on both sides. So as you will see, despite messing up my image, I did take down that ledge quite a bit. And you also want to be careful not to buff too much on the actual natural nail itself. You never want to thin that out because that will weaken it. But I did what I wanted to do, which will make it easier to kind of repair this and make it look good again. So the next step that I'm going to do is just to clean up my cuticle area. I use this tool. It probably looks scary, but for myself, I know my limits, and I know to use it very extremely gently. And all I am doing with this is just kind of scraping off very lightly any remaining top coat that's still near my cuticle, and any cuticle that is stuck to my nail. I do this before most manis in general. It just works for me. I take care of my cuticles regularly, so I don't often have cuticles stuck to my nail bed. If you have really attached cuticles, this is not something you want to do, because you will end up with hangnails and it will hurt. This is just for stuff that kind of got remaining stuff that got stuck to my nail bed, and I'm being extremely gentle. All right, then I brush that off. So for this mani, the underlying coat that I used starting in the nail art was the Holo Magenta Jelly. Bloop. So this is what I'm going to use to start to fix this nail. And I am not going to use the brush that comes with it. I am going to use a combination of this very thin nail art brush, as well as probably this one as well, which is kind of a little snubby one. I apologize, these don't have numbers on them. These are Beetle's gel polish brushes that I like to use. So the first thing that I'm going to do now that we have prepped it all is I am going to take a little bit of long-lasting base coat. This one's by Holo. I have one that I keep that is mostly used, but it's on the thicker side, and I like to use this for doing nail repairs. Mani repairs, really. Oh, my finger is so shaky. And I just kind of daub it on there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this is going to help all this hard work last. Put it over there. I don't bother with the cuticle area of the nail, mostly the tips. We want to wrap the end of it. Okay. For reference, this is my bottle of mostly used one. I have a bottle of newer one that I use when I'm doing a fresh mani, but for this purpose, I like the thicker one. You guys, something amazing just happened. Through the magic of television, my witchy poo is back on her broom, despite my error. How did that happen? Can't imagine. Anyways, all right, so our base coat has dried. I will now put some of the Magenta jelly polish down on my mat for a little dippy dip. And I will use this little snubby brush, do you like my technical terms, to fill in these gaps where the polish has chipped. Please excuse my shaky hands. This is the struggle that I deal with every day. There's that one. Don't be afraid to put this on a little bit thick, because you have to keep in mind that, you know, especially if you're doing nail art, most of us are using several nail layers of polish as we're going along. If you want to get this free edge over here, you can. Don't be afraid to go a little out of the lines, because we can clean up later, which I intend to do. So I add it over here. Oops. Here we go. We want to be sure to get under the nail so that we seal this polish back on. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just to make it look better and not chippy. And don't worry, we're going to blend this all in. It's going to be just fine. Nobody panic. Then I'm going to take a little bit more of this polish and hit that cuticle line. Okay, that looks excellent. Now, you might be saying, no, it doesn't look excellent, and that is not a finished look, and I would agree with you. But don't worry, because I'm going to fix it. So I take one of my two favorite cleanup brushes, one of which is the TwinkledT, that's number 2. My other favorite, and it has kind of this tapered tip on it that I like, and it's pretty thin, which is nice. My other favorite is the Holo cleanup brush. This one is a little frayed because I've used it quite a lot, but it is also a great cleanup brush. So I'm going to take my TwinkledT brush, Put a little bit of acetone on it and just clean up this edge. Give that a nice finished edge, because that is something that is very important to me. It is not important to everybody, and that's totally okay, because we're all doing this nail art because we enjoy it and it brings us peace, and that's all that matters. But I went ahead and cleaned that all up nice. We're going to let that dry for just a second. It doesn't have to be completely dry, but I'm going to give it a chance to not be totally wet. I'll be right back. Alright, so over my Holo Magenta jelly, I had used Mooncat, and this is a Very Merry Unbirthday from the Alice in Wonderland collection. Huge fan of that one. So I will take a little dollop of that here on my mat. Now, if you want to and you're nervous about using a sponge here, you can use one of the little brushes to put this over. I prefer to use a little sponge so that it matches the effect of the rest of the nail. I take forever before I throw a wedge sponge. I will use it to death. So for now, I will use this little corner here. And I'll give it a little dab dab. And I'm just going to start dabbing over my magenta jelly. I know that some people wait until the very end of the mani to clean up. I like to clean up my edges as I go with each layer. I find that it's a little bit easier because once I have a few layers of polish on, it's harder to get a clean cleanup line without ruining the manicure. So I am just going around the edges, taking this little dab at a time. I'm not worrying about perfection, especially on this one where it's kind of an aura effect. Also, don't forget that you have buffed down this polish that is left on your nail, so it's going to look duller in comparison to what you're putting on. Once you put your top coat back on, it's all going to even out again. Okay, I'm just going to clean up any parts that I messed up. This part I will use my Holo Taco brush. I like to use this on my free edges, oh, not my free edges, but the parts of my nail that abut the edges of my nail. I find that this works better on those. Just get these little glitter pieces off. Those can be hard to clean up sometimes. They really want to stick to that skin. Okay. So that part is done. Oh, I see a little guy in there that didn't want to come out. I will fix. That's all been fixed now. All right. So we are ready for our final top coat to complete fixing our chipped nail for the week. Give us another couple of days because we have addressed the regrowth by the cuticle so that it doesn't look like it's been on there for so long and your nails don't look like they're claws. And I will go ahead and do that to the rest of my nails. I have my little Jack Skellington one here that has grown out quite a bit. Not too much tip wear on that one. What I will likely do for this tip wear is I would paint some of my Holo Magenta jelly onto a wedge sponge like this, and then I would dab it onto the painted area just to reapply some polish and reseal the manicure on the free edge. This one is still looking pretty good. I might not need to do anything to this one because it hasn't grown out quite as much as the others. And for my pinky, what's interesting is that I had some polish shrinkage here. So what looks like it happened was the magenta jelly stayed where it was, but the Merry Unbirthday shrunk a little bit and exposed some magenta jelly here. So I will likely fix that up a little bit. The reason that we don't want to just file the tips and then leave it alone is that if we were to file the tips of these and then do nothing else, the manicure would be exposed to water, and water will get into your polish and just rechip it again. So we want to make sure that we are filing, repolishing the edges, and then putting a clear coat and sealing the tip. All right, I'm going to apply the top coat and then we'll be all done. Okay, I applied my top coat. Everything matches up nicely. I still have my aura effect on my polish, And I have no more chippies. And I still have that damn thing right there. You know what? I can't stand it. It's gonna drive me crazy. So we're gonna fix it. Get out of there, you. You can't sit with us. There we go. It's gone. All right. And now I have a couple more days out of this one. Hope this helps somebody. If you have any questions, let me know. Apologies for any part of this that was unprofessional because I am not a professional. I do this just for fun. All right, bye everyone.